Ratting is a very popular way of making ISK in EVE Online, whether that's you running DED missions or agent encounters or whatever it is that you do to shoot at NPCs. Ultimately, this is popular because it has numerous different ISK revenues attached to it. On one hand, if you're running agent missions, for example, you're going to get ISK and LP just for completing those missions. If you're doing DED sites and other things, you're going to be getting bounties for shooting the rats as well, and you're probably going to be getting some loot drops from some of those enemies as well. Now in EVE Online, you have to be within 2,500 meters of an enemy's wreck in order for you to loot it. You need to be within 5,000 meters of it if you want to salvage it. That can result in some really long times of you drifting all over the place trying to collect your loot at the end of a combat encounter, or worse, trying to drift around and getting yourself in and out of bad positions as you're trying to do the encounter at the same time, looting and shooting at the same time. Fortunately, in EVE Online, there is a module to help with this, and it is a rather easy thing just to chuck in your cargo hold and have fun with. Ahoy there folks, I'm Captain Benzie, and in today's video, I'm going to be showcasing the joys of the Mobile Tractor Unit. The Mobile Tractor Unit, or MTU, is a very versatile unit that you can just put into your cargo hold, drop into space, and it will significantly help with your looting experience. I'm not going to get into how to make or buy one of these. You can either find a friend who's an industrialist, or you can just buy them fairly cheaply on the market, but there are a couple of different variants of them that are worth just having a look at. Now, I've dragged all three of these into the compare tool: the standard Mobile Tractor Unit, the Pack Rat, and the Magpie. Now, there are some key differences between these. What you should notice is that they do take up a good amount of cargo hold space. You're going to spend at least 100 cubic meters of your cargo just to pop one of these in, so this does mean some ships are not going to have much space left over for the actual cargo by the time you've taken into account the MTU and any ammunition you may happen to have. In addition to this, they have different variants of optimal ranges. Some of them have minimum targeting distances that change and vary. There are also different scanning abilities, plus things like hit points and shield capacity, that kind of thing, because they can be shot at. If someone wants to come and ruin your day, they can jump into your anomaly, shoot the MTU, and then run off. But ultimately, I don't really see much need in going into like the Magpies or the Pack Rats. I think the standard MTU, which is nice and cheap, is just the best option, really. Like, you can go for the higher tech versions, but I don't see much use in them. Now, rather than sit here and try and describe to you how all of this works, I think it is better just to essentially jump into an anomaly and showcase how it works. As we warp towards this anomaly, I'm just going to open up the Mobile Tractor Unit's information page so we can discuss briefly how it works. Now, when you activate the Mobile Tractor Unit from your cargo hold, when you deploy it, it will deploy within 1,250 meters, which puts it in easy opening range of you. Obviously, you can open cargo within 2,500. You see, it has to be at least 5,000 meters from any other Mobile Tractor units, 40 kilometers from any control towers, 50 kilometers from stargates, stations, or upwell structures, and a whopping 1,000 kilometers away from encounter surveillance systems. What this is going to do is essentially start to pull everything towards it. It will look for wrecks within a 125 kilometer range, pull them towards it at a speed of 1,000 meters per second, and then gradually open those up and store them inside it. Whatever was in those wrecks gets moved into the MTU. This means at the end of the fight, you can just essentially drift over to the MTU and loot this one box, rather than having to loot every single enemy that's out there. There are some other bits and pieces here you can have a look at, like its structure, HP, and that. The fact that it exists in space for 2 days is pretty cool as well. I don't recommend leaving one around, because that just seems to be a recipe for disaster. Someone's going to come along and shoot it or loot it in the meantime, but you can theoretically leave it. If you get popped by rats, it will be there when you come back. Now, if we right-click the Mobile Tractor Unit in our cargo hold, we can hit Launch for Self. This will drop it into space within 1,250 meters of us, and it will take 10 seconds for it to fully deploy. Now, it doesn't always appear really easily viewable next to you, so you can just swap to the Everything tab of your overview, and you'll see that the Mobile Tractor Unit has now deployed nearby 1,238 meters away from me up there. Now, obviously this would start to pull in wrecks, but there just simply aren't any nearby at the moment, so we're going to need to create some. That's the entire point of ratting though, really, isn't it? Creating wrecks out of enemy ships. So I'm going to zoom everything out a little bit here, make sure I'm shooting at like one group, not two groups. We're going to start taking out some of these Corelli guards first of all, because those things can be really nasty with their sensor dampeners. If you've watched my video on the Hurricane, you've seen what those can do. Now that there's a wreck in space, that mobile tractor unit is going to start to bring that wreck towards it. I'm not going to try and showcase this overly. There we go. There's the green line. I was about to say, I'm not going to focus heavily on trying to get this to showcase. You should see the green line appear at some point. That is now bringing the wreck towards it at a speed of 1,000 meters per second. So at 30 kilometers away, it's going to take 30 seconds to get it into range, right? That's fairly straightforward math. Now in the meantime, I'm just going to continue to pop everything else nearby and create some more wrecks for it. But there we are, you see it's bringing that wreck in. Now that that wreck is nice and close, it's going to essentially loot it. The wreck is still there if I wanted to salvage it as well. That's the added advantage of this as well, that you're going to have all those wrecks ready for salvaging in close range too, so you don't have to worry about going a mad distance away if you want to salvage everything. Like if you're using salvaging drones or even just to salvage a high slot, it's going to bring them all in. And so here I am, just essentially shooting away at things, creating some wrecks that mobile tractor unit is going to start bringing towards itself and looting. And I will just skip ahead to the end of the fight at this point and showcase how this then works for collecting, scooping, and moving on with your life. Now, as we're coming to the end of this encounter, I can kind of showcase the MTU a little bit more up close and personal. Now, admittedly, this encounter was just to destroy the installation. I didn't even need to shoot any of the rats, but obviously I wanted to demonstrate the MTU. And if you look around me, you can see it's brought all of the wrecks nice and close to itself. It's looted a whole ton of those, and it's probably still bringing some of the ones that are slightly further away in. The MTU is right here in space next to me. You can see it's this sort of weird oblong device floating just behind my ship, and it is bringing another bit of cargo in towards it at the moment. I'm not going to worry overly about getting all of the loot for this because it is just a demonstration. I am, however, going to put my drones away before I forget those and warp off without them. But now that I'm here at the end of this fight with all of this loot coming in close, I'm actually just going to wait for this last one because it is a wing leader wreck and it's coming in quite quickly. You can see the speed there as I mouse over it. There's the wreck. It's then going to loot that wreck and put any of the loot from that wreck into the mobile tractor unit. Now I can either just right click on the mobile tractor unit itself, or I can go into the overview and right click it there. I then just literally go open cargo, and there's every piece of loot from this fight, all in one nice easy box for me. I can just hit loot all. That is now all in my cargo hold. Finally, we then right-click the mobile tractor unit and scoop to cargo hold and hope we've still got enough space to pick it back up after all the loot. Now, if you wanted to as well, obviously everything is nice and close here. If you had a salvager, you could salvage all of these wrecks. They're all really nice and close by. You can see in my overview here, every single wreck from this fight is within a total distance of 1,674 meters, well and truly inside salvaging range. It is that simple. Anyway, folks, that's about all there is to say about mobile tractor units. They are one of those really useful tools in EVE Online that if you are ratting and you're at all caring about either the wrecks or the loot inside them, you really should get yourself a mobile tractor unit. Very useful tool. It's going to help increase your ISK per hour, because ultimately you saw I finished off the last ship and I had to wait about 10 seconds to get that up close so that I could loot everything. I didn't have to spend the next 20 minutes flying around and looting everything manually. Very useful module. Get yourself one now and hope you enjoy it. If you learned anything through this video or you found this useful, please hit like, it really helps the channel out. And if you do want to go the extra mile to be awesome, you can head across to my Patreon where you can pledge to support the channel, just like the awesome folks that you'll see in just a moment in the stars do. There's also my PayPal tip jar if you want to do a once-off support. And if you want to grab yourself some really cool Captain Benzie EVE Online based merchandise, you can head to my Redbubble merchandise store that is linked in the description of this video. Anyway, folks, that's everything for today. Let me know how you get on with this. Happy sailing, and see you in New Eden!